State regulators say diesel was accidentally mixed into unleaded gas and then sent to gas stations across the state. The wrong fuel was delivered to some King Soopers, Costco's, and Murphy Expresses between Wednesday afternoon and yesterday morning. State regulators say that they've received about 200 complaints so far. But what does that actually mean? Contaminated gas, what does it do to your car?
Very important question. Joining us now, Jason Colson, the owner of AutoLab. We appreciate you coming in. This seems like a very scary scenario to be in, especially if you don't know that this has happened. What are those like telltale signs?
Well, yesterday when we started receiving calls and the tow companies were delivering cars that were coming from the Costco specifically, the customers complained that the car had stalled out and wouldn't restart.
Is that immediate? Like right when you're pulling out that would happen, or would it take a little bit?
It does, depending on how much fuel was in the vehicle left in the tank. Like if they were, for the most part, primarily out and they went to fill up, then yes, it was more immediate. But if they had half a tank, it would take a little bit longer for that to dissipate. Does that make sense?
Well, it does, but break this down for us. Why would diesel in, a normal car that Samurai drive, why is that so detrimental?
So diesel fuel, there's a spectrum of petroleum, the way that it ignites. Diesel fuel does not ignite. In fact, we identified how it was contaminated by spilling what we were bringing out of the car on the floor and igniting it with a lighter. As within 10 seconds, what was spilled on the floor extinguished on its own. And when we went to rub what was left, we knew that it was diesel fuel. It had that odor. Diesel fuel does not spark and ignite, it's combusted. So that means that it ignites and creates a combustion by being compressed. Does that make sense? It doesn't, like a diesel engine doesn't have spark plugs that ignites it with a spark.
Okay.
It utilizes compression in order to create combustion.
And that's why it would be so detrimental in an unleaded gas tank, or a gas tank that relies on unleaded.
So like I had mentioned, you can take diesel fuel and spill it on the ground and take a lighter and it will not light. It will. So inside of your engine, the spark that would ignite that, it won't happen. So it'll shut the vehicle down.
Got it.
Does that make sense? It
Yeah.
will no longer run.
In layman's terms, I needed that. Thanks for breaking it down simply.
Well, so what are the long-term effects on your car, your engine, from putting the wrong gas in?
That seems to be the $64,000 question, both from the customers that were delivered to my shop as well as a lot of your viewers. And the reality is it's not that detrimental. Realistically, we even put a page up on our website to help with some of the information getting to the customers. But a fuel induction flush will help get all of that diesel fuel out of a gasoline engine as quickly as possible if they're concerned about it. And we can actually do an assessment if you got some fuel from there and you want to bring it by AutoLab. One of my factory trained ASC certified technicians can absolutely look at the car and see how it's running. We can even plug into it with a scan tool and verify that the parameters are being met and it's not something we need to be worried about. But I think peace of mind at this point is what people are looking for.
So how much would that repair all cost for somebody who did have some of that gas put in their car?
So yesterday's repairs was 2 hours for us to get all of the diesel fuel out of the tank, and then ultimately I had to go, my son ran down to the gas station and got good clean gasoline, not from the mentioned gas stations, but the ones that you can trust a little bit more. And ultimately we brought that back, filled up the car with one gas tank full of gas, and then had to take the car down and fill it up entirely just to make sure that any residual fuel or diesel fuel had been extinguished out of the system. Does that make sense? So evacuated out of the system. So in total, those two were each $650.
Okay.
But still, you're just trying to fill up. I mean, that's a ton of money.
Yeah.
Anything else before we let you go that folks who may be in this predicament, because it started with just a couple of dozen, now it's 200, who knows how many, right, are going to be affected by this? Anything else that they need to know?
I don't think this is as huge a concern for the people that only put a few gallons in. More concerning is obviously the people that filled their tank up entirely or as close to entirely. They obviously have probably already felt those malfunctions going on. If you're at all concerned, like I said, you can bring it down to us and let us make an assessment of it. We have an opportunity to do that evacuation of that diesel fuel as quickly as possible and try and get you back on the road. But I don't think, in the long-term effects, other than maybe a fuel induction flush, is necessary, but it's not something that you're worried about going to bust the engine entirely. You know, it's not going to cause any, you know, big time defects.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, you've given us a lot of great information. So Jason Colson of AutoLab, we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it.